From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A farmer dealing with crop loss following Hurricane Helene.
This is horrible. This is devastatingly horrible to the point that I don't even have ideas right now.
How she's helping her North Carolina community battle back. Plus, adding cover crops can be a good idea, but how do you get them established? Some advice to give them a kickstart as we help you flip your soil. And can national corn yield numbers get even bigger? USDA forecasters say yes.
We still got a big crop. I think it would have been a lot bigger with a better finish.
The latest numbers right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer brand corn is part of a winning team that includes deep local knowledge and on-farm support. Pioneer brand corn, your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. USDA is expecting even bigger yields out of this year's corn crop. The agency releasing new supply and demand numbers at the end of last week. It's now calling for corn yields to be 183.8 bushels to the acre. That's up 0.2 bushels compared to last month. Production also up 17 million on those higher yields and more than 15.2 billion bushels. Now for soybeans, yields are lowered slightly from last month to 53.1 bushels per acre, lowering production by 4 million bushels to 4.6 billion bushels. And for ending stocks, corn coming in just below 2 billion bushels, a cut of 58 million bushels from last month. And for soybeans, 550 million bushels, matching September. Wheat, it was in at 812 million bushels, down 16 million from a month ago. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me, and Michelle, USDA didn't make any big adjustments in this report.
No, Clinton, market analysts tell me this WASDE was fairly benign, especially compared to past market-moving October reports. And it didn't change much on the U.S. or global grain balance sheet. However, the market had rallied well off of the August lows coming into the report after funds exited a big share of their short positions. And now the focus will be on harvest and South American weather. USDA raised corn yields 0.2 bushels per acre to a record 183.8, but ending stocks were still down 58 million bushels from last month, just below 2 billion. Yet market analysts say that doesn't do much to change the balance sheets domestically.
This number, Michelle, really wasn't that much of a changer. Your carryout just shy of 2 billion, 1.999, just below that psychological level is comfortable at this point in time.
However, he says a change worth noting is USDA lowered corn imports to China by 2 million metric tons and is still well above China's 13 million metric ton import forecast.
But if all of a sudden the Chinese number is more accurate and they're only importing 13 million metric tons instead of 21, that will be bearish to the world balance sheet and that will be price negative.
On soybeans, USDA lowered yield 1/10 of a bushel to a record 53.1 bushels, but market analysts say at least the yield and ending stocks number didn't increase because a 550 million bushel carryover is still 200 million above last year.
We still got a big crop. I think it would have been a lot bigger with a better finish, but we're hearing still that these later beans that finished under more dry conditions have taken a hit on yield. So we'll see what happens in subsequent reports. But the balance sheet is still way too large on ending stocks at 550. And I do think the export demand is still way too high from USDA. We're just not seeing enough Chinese business or export business in general to lower that number on the ending stocks down.
In fact, he thinks USDA could be overstating soybean demand by as much as 100 million bushels, which would take ending stocks back over 600 million and mean sub-$10 prices. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Updating you on cleanup operations following Hurricane Milton and Helene. At last report, at least 7 Florida ports remain closed due to Milton. Now, Port Tampa Bay, which is a key hub for fertilizer exports, has reopened, but with restrictions. Fertilizer producer Mosaic had stopped operations in the area ahead of Milton's arrival, but said last week it will begin assessing the impact to its operations when conditions allow. Meanwhile, citrus growers in Florida are reporting significant losses, with early crops heavily impacted and fruit expected to continue to drop in the coming weeks. In Georgia, state officials visited a farm heavily impacted by Hurricane Helene to discuss the impacts of the storm on state agriculture. Now, several farmers meeting with Governor Brian Kemp and other leaders in Soperton.
We see you. We see the damage that you have had to dealt with. We will not forget you.
My whole life's work, his whole life's work that even my grandfather and great-grandfather had planted trees on our place. They've all been, affected by this storm.
The University of Georgia's Ag Department estimating almost a $2 billion impact to agriculture from Hurricane Helene. After a cooler weekend, are more fall-like temperatures on the way this week? Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht has more for us.
Now, we've been following this the last couple of days. Obviously, what's going on in the tropics with Milton and Helene. The other thing that we've been following is what's going on with the jet stream, this pattern shift. We're going to get a pocket of some cooler air working across the northeast. But when you look at the temperature outlook map between the 18th and the 24th, we go back to some warmer than average conditions. And I point that out because in the short term, there's going to be some cooler air in and around the United States. But then we get back into this fall-like pattern where a ridge is going to set up over the Midwest, bringing the heat through about October 24th. But notice what's on the top left corner of this map, up into the northwest. The blue indicating below normal temperatures. I mentioned this last week, that as we go deeper this week, we're going to start to see that fluctuation in the jet stream where we go ridge to trough. And it's this trough that is going to bring the cooler air down and increase the rain chances and possibly the wind threat in and across the United States. So just something to keep an eye on. We'll talk more about it with the jet stream in just a bit. And lots of people have been seeing the northern lights lately. This is from last week. Rick at Trail City, South Dakota, saying he wrapped up corn harvest with this brilliant light show. Talk about a front row seat to Mother Nature's movie. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Flip Your Soil on Ag Day is brought to you by ESN. Hear why farmers across the country trust ESN to protect their nitrogen investment and maximize yield. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
Many producers plant cover crops late in the growing season or even after harvest to flip their soil and improve soil health. However, they can face challenges getting cover crops established in areas that have a short growing season or moisture limitations. That's especially true this fall with the flash drought that has hit many states. While in North Dakota, producers using regenerative systems are retaining more soil moisture to help kickstart cover crops.
When we establish our cover crops out there, getting them big enough and quick enough, having the rain, that's a challenge, and there's not much we can do about that. But if we have a healthy system, we know that our soils, the water holding capacity will improve.
Now, he says NRCS can provide technical assistance to help farmers successfully integrate cover crops into their cropping system. Markets seeing somewhat of a muted reaction to Friday's WASDE report. We'll take a look at what it means for the rest of the month coming up next in Markets Now. And later, a harvest staple, gravity wagons and grain carts. Machinery Pete joins us to talk recent auction trends on those critical pieces of equipment.
Scan now to register for the Milk Business Conference 2024. Early bird rate expires October 31st.
Learning more about layoffs at ag manufacturing company Agco. TV stations in Kansas reporting the company is laying off some workers at its facility in Heston. Now, the company telling the stations the actions will impact fewer than 70 people. In July, we told you Agco had announced in a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission that it planned to cut up to 6% of its salaried workforce. The company saying it's in response to increased weakening demand in the agriculture industry. Grain markets capped off the week by moving lower on Friday. That's despite a more than 22 million bushel corn sale to unknown destinations. Michelle Rook is back with more in Markets Now.
Grains ended the week on a lower note. Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures is back with analysis. Well, not a lot in the WASDE report for the Bulls or the Bears, Oliver, on Friday. So some of the weakness, was that just a little bit of profit taking, or were we more focused on South American weather, or what was going on?
Yeah, I think South American weather certainly had something to do with it. I think you could also just throw in the fact that there wasn't any real bullish news to get people excited ahead of the weekend. And that led to some selling pressure. And as you'd mentioned, I think South American weather is going to be a big catalyst going forward, particularly for soybeans. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a nice little run higher. I think some of the dryness down there was part of the reason behind that, coupled with Chinese stimulus. But the market has digested some of the Chinese stimulus, and they're starting to see a little bit more favorable weather predictions down in Brazil. So that could continue to be a little bit of a headwind as we move through into the back half of October. On top of that, we've got an election just a few weeks away, which is kind of crazy to say it snuck up on us. And that could certainly throw a little bit of volatility in the price action as well.
Yeah. Was there anything in the WASDE that really surprised you? I mean, usually October reports can be somewhat of a market mover, and this one really wasn't.
There was nothing really in the report that surprised me. I think what surprised me was the expectations. The expectations were for the corn yield to drop just a hair. And from everyone I've been talking to across the country that's out there harvesting corn, things look really good, and there's a lot of people, taking records out of the field. So I was surprised to see the expectations come in below last month, but we did end up coming above that. So I think that kind of aligns with the people that I've been talking to.
So the other big questions as we move ahead here now, obviously harvest results, but also what's the funds? What is their next move?
And the fact that they've trimmed up their net short positions is, I think, honestly a little bit concerning, because we're still dealing with pretty big balance sheets. And if South America comes out with a good crop, all of a sudden funds have more powder to add to the short position. So unless we get a change in the fundamental landscape, I think the upside is going to be limited.
Thanks so much, Oliver Sloat, Blue Line Futures. We'll have more Ag Day.
Well, as we talked about last week, a pocket of cooler air with some rain attached to it is going to be working through parts of the Midwest. I say pocket because most of the nation will miss out on that cooler air and the rain chances. Where I'm talking is right back up here into the Midwest and to the Northeast. Notice as we go forward through your Monday and into your Tuesday, there's an outside chance of maybe some snowflakes coming through into the Northeast with that cooler air and some of that moisture. By 11 a.m., this system is going to be working to the northeast, and a ridge will start to develop and establish itself back out here to the west. And you don't need the jet stream to kind of see it. You just follow the pattern with the cloud cover back up here to the north, coming back down here to the south. Again, it's kind of like a roller coaster hill. The first one where we get that ridging back here to the west, that's going to slowly develop and strengthen to the east. So that's why when we looked at it earlier, the middle part of the week, there's going to be a lot of warming up going across the nation. Another trough is going to develop to the northwest. That is going to bring another cold front through the United States. And I think that one is going to have more widespread impacts. Now, I don't mean severe impacts. So what I'm talking about is colder air, drier air, and definitely a more fall-like feel to the United States with this second cold front. So there's Tuesday at 7 p.m. with the ridge in place. And you're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even into Friday for this ridge to hang around, keeping things pretty quiet. The trough won't come through, and corresponding cold front won't come through until possibly early weekend if everything kind of phases correctly. So by Thursday at 3 p.m. On Thursday, you got the potential for some higher elevation snowfall and some rain on Thursday, and then that energy working from the west to the east as you get into the weekend. So this is what it looks like from the jet stream. Again, Tuesday into Wednesday, there's that one trough moving out, the ridge starting to build in, and your second trough, this is the one that I was talking about, moving from the west to the east. That could have a little bit cooler air attached to it this weekend. Otherwise, precipitation forecast stays pretty localized to the Midwest. Alabama, Rab, 86 degrees, a low about 54 degrees. Rab, Texas, sunny, high around 94, low of 64. Rabbit Town, Kentucky, partly cloudy, high of 59.
Sales of new tractors and combines continue to drop. The Association of Equipment Manufacturers reporting so far this year, the sales of all two-wheel drive tractors are down more than 13% year to date. Four-wheel drive tractors performing slightly better, up just over 1%, while sales of combines are down more than 21% so far this year. As harvest continues to roll, you've got to have the right equipment to roll right along with you. Machinery Pete talks gravity wagons and grain carts.
Harvest time, folks. So let's talk harvest equipment today. Gravity wagons and grain carts. Now, good condition units still in strong demand. We're seeing some high prices out there. Not quite as hot as we saw a year to 2 years ago when the market was absolutely on fire. But let's start off with a gravity wagon that sold on a farm auction September 28th in beautiful Chaska, Minnesota, sale by Edgar Auction Service. This Brent 544 gravity wagon sold for $13,700. Now, it's a third highest auction price this year on a Brent 544 and the 7th highest auction price ever. Interesting to note, the 12 highest auction prices ever on a Brent 544 wagon, they've all come the past 2 years. Now, if we go 4 days before that, on a farm auction September 24th out in Lucky, Ohio by Schrader Real Estate and Auction, and if we hop over to grain carts, this very sharp 2016 J&M 750 went for $30,000. Good price there, 7th highest auction price I've ever seen on a J&M 750. But my favorite grain cart sold all of this year. I got to go back to June 24th online farm retirement auction up in Ada, Minnesota by the Steffes Group for brothers Gordon and Glenn Ramstead. And they sold this 2007 J&M 1050 grain cart, went for $41,500, which is the 5th highest auction price ever on a J&M 1050. But the kicker for me were the handwritten notes, extensive notes, that Gordon and Glenn had written on the J&M 1050 over the years. So again, good reason for that premium price. They got a $41,500.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, up next, the real challenges on the ground in western North Carolina. We'll ride along as one farmer works to help people in need following Hurricane Helene in the country.
Machinery Pete on Ag Day is brought to you by Firestone Ag. Firestone Ag now offers Bridgestone tractor tires, the ultimate lineup of tires engineered to deliver enhanced wear life, durability, and ride comfort on the road. To learn more, talk to your local certified Firestone Ag dealer.
Producers in western North Carolina are seeing damage from Hurricane Helene like they've never seen before. Friday, the North Carolina Farm Bureau introduced us to a farmer, Linda Pryor, who gave us a tour on the damage to her corn crop, but those losses aren't stopping her from helping out her community. Here's another update from Linda Loveland and the North Carolina Farm Bureau.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. This is horrible. This is devastatingly horrible to the point that I don't even have ideas right now.
That's a hard realization for Henderson County farmer Linda Pryor at a time when her family would normally be busy with the fall apple and corn harvest. This year, they don't even know if they can salvage any crops after 2 back-to-back weather systems, including Tropical Storm Helene.
There's so much sediment, there's so much stuff. There's like appliances and big trees, and so I don't even know how you would run a combine through anyway because there's so much stuff. I mean, there's a propane tank over there. and I just think there's places that a lot of the land itself is gone, so it'll take a lot of work just to get things to be able to plant for next year and to get all the junk out. I don't know.
Even with so many unknowns, Pryor knew she needed to do something.
Hey.
So she jumped into action, coordinating rescues.
A good friend couldn't get a hold of his mom. We started trying to get to her, but in the process of trying to help her, we kept encountering all these other people that needed help. So we never got to her that day because we didn't make it. But we helped a lot of other people. So you need diapers, and I got 1 stove left. And did the cans get brought down here?
She also collected supplies for neighbors.
We just took a pickup truck and put supplies in the back, food and water and stuff, and just parked it at the end of this road in this area and put a sign on it that there was stuff in it, take what you wanted. And that's been extremely helpful. So now we have people that are coming every day to get their supplies for the day. Let's do 1 more water and 1 diapers here.
Tasks filled with rewards and a much-needed distraction for this farmer who loves her community.
It's been easier just to help people right now because I can't help this. And I don't do well with sitting around. So I think I've had very good examples of how to treat people, and that's how I want to live.
And our thanks to the North Carolina Farm Bureau for continuing to share those stories with us. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great week out on the farm.